with only 3 trios having priority.
Split Splash, we are taking a bath here in this in-game. It's all going to be aquatic. It's all going to be chaotic. It's all going to be dangerous. But at the end, there's going to be someone that's going to have a victory royale. They're going to be soaked. They're going to be tired from all the sweat and all the water. But it's going to be a big game. Somebody could easily kind of bolt their way up their leaderboard. But if Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson, yes, they didn't get the victory royale. But Shayo said it best. They kind of got a mini victory just by staying up. And look at it. They're at high. This is going to be big considering everything's going to be over water. The low ground warriors are not going to have the ability to save the resources because they're going to have to build floors as well.
Yeah, and we've talked about it too.
But what? What happened? Huh?
Every single game, and it's going to have to be pried out of our eliminated bodies right now. As you can see, 3 eliminations, everyone still trying to pack on in. And again, placement points starting to get doled out. And as we keep an eye on the top of the leaderboard, every single placement point that Tayson, Mongo, and Mitro get effectively nullifies the placement points everyone else is getting, because it doesn't matter if you get that point, they're getting it too. They'll continue to open up that lead, and unless somebody can knock them down off of this throne, it looks like it's going to continue to be a battle for second. As the 5th zone will close, we'll have our transition into the end game, and we're going to head over to the Shark, baby.
Yes, and now Cammy, that was a trio that was able to knock off Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson with a shockwave play. That is the EU thing to do. No doubt, Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson know how to kind of combat that. They know the defense, and they get a good spread, and there it is. They're going to beam all these people trying to go for it. They're already going to the tip of the nose of the Shark. They're becoming the Sharks of the region. We already have a Rogue Shark, NA East, the X-Set boys, and all that. But Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson are being the alpha predators, the apex of right now in this EU region, and that is proof in the pudding, considering they're sitting on top of the leaderboard and they're looking pretty and they're looking swaggish, because right now Tayson picked up a knock in the feet, and we already seen this. Double E limbs comes from height. The E limb natality is strong with this trio.
And you can see, have you ever just wanted a shark with a laser beam on top of his head? Well, this is the best you'll ever get. It's Mongo up there with a legendary Stark infantry rifle, raining shots from above. We saw Savage go down in the feed. Lecty's going to pick up another elim. Despite the fact that 17 players have dropped, not a single trio has gone down, so only 1 placement point doled out. And as I say that, they begin to tick over. Mongo gets another elimination. 15 trios remaining, going to be forced over to the side. He's going to build back up. He needs to get over to the high ground and connect with his team, but they are doing a great job of executing this textbook high ground control, and it's going to be their match to close out. However, low on mats is Mongo, but he says, don't matter, don't care. I got the AR I need in the Stark Industry Rifle, and he finds another elimination. We have our top 20 players, top 11 trio.
And it's going to go back over water again, and it all is up to Tayson, the in-game leader, to kind of lead Mongo and Mitro to the prime position with getting a knock on ZQ, getting them those angles that they need to send those beams down. We've already labeled these as one of the strongest players in the region with beams, and look at this, it's going to go off a waterfall, so the more elevation is going to go down and down. This is going to be crazy. This is intense. Coral Castle, and now we're going to take a peek just for a brief moment at what is going down in the chaos down below. We have the ultimate box fighter teams, Wolfie, CRR, and Kenzel sitting in 3rd place, trying to say, wait a minute, not so fast, Mongo. We are going to contest you, and we are going to have a chance to win, but it's going to require a huge effort to dethrone the Kings on top, Sundown.
And we still need to see them go down. However, Janus on his feet, despite Andalex being up to the 2nd place team, at least still getting up to 5th. That's what the top trios do the best in the game. They manage to find a way to eke out these placement points. We've talked about it, that Europe has kind of been the run of the Lone Ranger of the final moments. And if there isn't a trio hip-to-hip, then there's an opportunity for the clutches to come through. But right now, on the low ground, you have one of the most dangerous trios who is hip-to-hip, as Hen end will go down there. Deceptos following in his feet right away will signal the end of that trio, but Wolfies is at the back of the storm. But at the end of the day, the story of EU, time and time again, E11 Tayson, the Chapter 2 Season 3 solo winner, Liquid Mitro and Mongrel on the high ground, running it out. It's a 3v2. They have 11 eliminations, and at this point, it is a battle for second. There is no way, unless there is a monumental ruin, that with the way this trio is playing so far, anybody will be able to catch them or repeat this performance. And this is why Mitro drops down. Tayson and Mongrel shooting fish in a literal barrel of the zone. 13 eliminations, 38 points.
You know they're feeling it when Tayson edit downs Mitro to be the ultimate swanton bomb off the top rope, getting the big time aliens and the victory royale. Sundown. Wow, man. We all question, will Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson have a successful hot start in day 2? And that right there, with a great consistency in that opening games, proves that they have a great chance of walking away to being the FNCS Trios champion.
55 points through the first 2 games. This trio is averaging now just over 25 points a game. That's a victory royale with nothing else. This run is nuts, but we're going to send it on over to Zeke, Shio, and Reese to show us how good it really is.
First game jitters, no. Thank you, Reese. Thank you. Number 1. Listen, first game jitters are gone. The trio cracks back. I can't believe it. And these guys did a perfect job of calling this out for us, right? Tayson being your solos invitational FNCS champion from Chapter 2 Season 3. Coming in, you've got the veterans, the pioneers, Mongrel and Mitro. You slam them all together, and we may very well be looking at the next FNCS Trios champions. Let's take a look at these leaderboards. Look at this lead, gentlemen.
It is monstrous. 186 points to 122, and these guys have 3 victory royales.
That's incredible, actually. 64 points in the lead. And you know, Mongrel and Mitro have been known as this really aggressive two-player solo, duo, trio, squad. It doesn't matter. These guys are very, very
186.
You know, when we started teaming up with Tayson, I felt like it was a personal, fantastic choice because Tayson is very calm, collected, very keeps his own head, and he can IGL these guys into victory. And throughout the start of the FNCS, there was a lot of memes on social media about Tayson, you know, struggling to keep these two on their leash, but it seems like at this point he's wrapped it all up and these guys are just playing incredibly consistently.
And we'll have much more to break down as to what they did in that last game. Pay attention to the 2nd and 3rd place, Kinzel and Squeezes trio. These guys are now just 1 point beside each other. We'll see how their story kind of unfolds in these next few games and who gets to have that 2nd place slot. Over here from 6th all the way to 10th place, Benji, Savage, and Letchi finding some success with Elims in a few games, not making those end games completely. 85 points right now. Past that from 7th to 10th, it is just a 4-point game from Flores' trio all the way down to 2th.
It's lunchtime. Everybody get your ass at the table.
They kind of been struggling being contested off the ball, kind of similar to what we've seen during the qualifiers. You know, they'll win that fight, but it'll drag out way too long, and the rotations just aren't good because of that. So I don't know what the next plan is for the next few games today, but hopefully they can kind of figure that out. Moving on to our next page, 11th down to 15th, kind of the similar names that we've seen over the last 2 days on this page.
Yeah, I was going to say that the top 15 is really kind of looking standard now. These guys have found their pacing. It's about improving even more now, taking every game as an individual moment, analyzing it, making the best decisions, and winning, just like we saw Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson do in that last game. From 16th to 20th overall, we also have a few new names coming in and out, but at the same time, the same teams still on the page. We see Lanuth, Marine, and Jaspe on this page right now, 47 points, and testing that top team in first place. Ken, Deceptos, and Putrick finding some success here on day 2, but these guys will have to have great games to catch up to that top 5.
Guys, this last game felt like a superhero movie, right? We had the shot of the waterfall. We had players trying to go up and down, and then finally the heroes find themselves basking in the sun at the end, being victorious. I mean, we very well could be looking at our next FNCS champions, but there's more that kind of happened here in the game. So I'm going to kick it over to you guys. Walk us through what you guys are seeing.
Now we'll have some big perspectives here earlier on in that end game from Mongrel and how these guys kind of learned from their last game, game number 1 of today, fixed their mistakes, and in game number 2 really played the zone very well to get that victory royale.
You can see they're already on height at this point, but they claimed that during the 50-50 zone because they got the zone right on them from 4. But these guys are good. They've already claimed a high ground position earlier on, so when they got that 5th zone, they could completely utilize that and keep height from there on out.
Yeah, in game 1, the mistake was kind of putting all the eggs in one basket, but not really knowing exactly where that basket stood. In this zone, there was water completely in the low ground. They were very comfortable on staying on height the whole time. Tayson here as well staying at the front. Mongrel staying in the back so he could keep tabs on any trios trying to shockwave up like we saw Artours do before. There's that water dive bomb play as Sancho called out. CRR, Kinzel, and Wolfies tried their best to play this water zone, but being on height is the best choice when you're in this type of zone, this aquatic kind of formation of what ends up happening for everyone on low. It's so hard to find your footing, and because of that, Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson stayed high, stayed dry, and ended up winning that game with beautiful decision making.
And Mitro actually, if you saw there, edited down by Tayson, which didn't seem like an accident. You know, initially when you watched that back, it seemed like Mitro was going to make the aggressive play to go pick up those eliminations. But, you know, even the top teams make a mistake at the end, accidentally editing Mitro down into the water. But because they were over that water, he was safe from fall damage, and they all managed to frag out and pick up that big victory royale.
Hey, look, you just got to fake it till you make it, right? It's not a mistake if you don't call it out. It's a calculated risk, a calculated plan of attack. And when you're as far ahead as these guys, when you're as skilled as these guys, when you've been on the scene as long as these guys, they turn these L's into W's. That's just what they do. I want to see them continue with this momentum. Remember, we've got another 5 games on the day. Anything can happen, but will it? We have to kick it back over to our casters to continue the storylines, and we'll be back after this with more breakdowns. Take it away, boys.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Reese. And here we are into the match number 8. And so far, it's been all Tayson, Mongrel, and Mitro with nothing less than a 7th place finish over their first 7 matches. So incredibly well done. But already looking at the mini-map, for the first time in what feels like a long time, there's some other triangles at Stark Industries. So somebody has decided to pony up. Somebody has decided to rise to the challenge and be the David to their Goliath over at Stark Industries. We'll be keeping an eye on that elimination feed, but with the Southern Zone 2 right on the edge of that, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Hey, I don't know, man. I've been watching Ghostbusters getting me in the Halloween spirit. You guys released some awesome outfits. And that is a biblical proportion type feat. That is one giant marshmallow man to overcome there. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to bust the bubble of Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson. They are on an unbelievable ride. But one hero that may stand tall, one trio that can get that job done is Kenzel, Wolfies, and CRR. They can make things interesting. And the reason why I say that is because they could pop off with elims as well. And they've been putting it all together. We're getting some placement points sundown.
And one thing to note in particular about the last game, you saw how he had the bandage cannon on the low ground, but being out of mats, and when you're in the water, you can't actually fire the bandage against anything. It will go all the way down to the bottom of the water. So despite being on 20 HP, he didn't have anything to kind of mark himself against, as we actually see up in the elimination feed, and Dretta picking up another early elimination there. But also, we saw Lecce end up going down as well. So another one of our power trios over at Doom's Domain struggling a little bit here off of the start. The Dual Media boys giving them everything they can handle so far here on day 2.
And I gotta know, as we seen that Snipe does pick up an elim on Benji, what happened? What went down there in Stark Industry? We gotta see in a moment notice. We'll get that replay up going.
Yeah, and that was Benji's full elim as well. Their trio is down. You keep an eye on that top left corner now, as we're going to see. It's enough. Thomas HD and Flick. If there's anybody to rise to the challenge and go after these guys, it will be them. You can see Anas already holding on to the elimination. Flick finds Mitro off of the start, and not only that, but the power weapons in their hands. You can see Tayson tries to make a little bit of an escape here, but you know they're going to ride that one down right away. Big white tags coming out there, and Flick, who accounts for 75% of this trio's eliminations pre-round or pre-zone 5, is going to find his second one here, and they're going to wrap up for the first time in this tournament. Tayson, Mitro, and Mongo go down with 0 points. They had never finished lower than 7th place before this, and that was all the way back in the first game. So now, all of a sudden, that battle for second place, everyone else gets that one opportunity to kind of, I believe the technical term is, whoop, shrink that leaderboard gap just a little bit.
Oh man, and that is the story that we have now developing. I took a look at Twitter, okay? I took a look, and Flick, all he tweeted out was a demon emote. That's all, emoji. That's all he tweeted out. Anas, he said, we should have never left. I'm telling you, the problems of switching from their drop spot. They switched from that dirty docks where they were being so strong and so prominent, and they had strong finishes. When they switched to retail row, I just think they noticed that it wasn't enough. They weren't getting their power weapons. They weren't getting all the resources that they need for their playstyle. And now they realize that, hey man, you know, yeah, you never know. They could pop off. You never know, Sundown.
And we've talked about it before as well with this trio coming through. One, they're incredible in terms of their playmaking ability, whether it's early or late game. We've seen Flick just kind of let running. They also get a nice little Llama 210 pick up there, some extra maps, extra utility. Not that the Stark Industries team will need it after that fact, but I mean, the playmaking capability. But on the flip side of that, let's talk about kind of the mental check that's now going to put on Mitro, Mongo, and Tayson.
Huge.
Because for this entire competition, they haven't had to worry about sitting there in queues. They haven't had to worry about thinking who's going to come there. They haven't had to game plan something else. They haven't had to prep for somebody to come challenge them. Now, all of a sudden, not only are you eliminated in 30 seconds with 0 points, you have to sit there for a half hour, watch everyone else play outside while you're stuck there in jail. No more games for you back in the lobby. And they're out of that rhythm a little bit. They're a trio who very much kind of rides on that momentum. They're very, very emotional players. When they made the World Cup announcement back in the day, people joked about Mitro and Mongo being the loudest duo, both for the keyboard clacks and just the way they celebrate when they make their plays. But now that they've been silenced for a second, how do they react?
Tayson will have the biggest challenge of them all. Will Mongo and Mitro put up that brick wall and not listen to his calls? Yeah, it's going to be up to Tayson to kind of hold that ship from going capsizing completely. Giannis, Alex, and Xweez, they have an opportunity now to gain some grounds here. They are about 60-plus points away. They're certainly sitting in second place. Another trio that we took a peek in down in Slurpy Swamps was Kinzel, Wolfie, and CR. That opens up the door to gain some ground, but we're talking about a difference of about 2 victory royales and some like close to double-digit elims. That's what's going to be required. And the difference is as well is we still have plenty of games to go, Sundown. We're just barely into the second half here of the grand finals here of the FNCS trios.
And it was starting to feel like it couldn't be overcome because of how consistent they were. There was no hope. There was nobody who wanted to rise up and be the ones to challenge them. However, we've kind of talked about it before. Like Jasper and Co., yes, they 50-50'd the chess, but they were relatively successful, and they turned a couple of those late games around. So especially if a top trio comes in with a game plan on how to take those fights, and they come in not necessarily fearing those 3 off of the bat, which they're one of the 3 players who can really genuinely say, like, yeah, let's go fight these guys and maybe come out better than 50-50. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to think, okay, Mongo really wants to get revenge there, but if they're not, they haven't had to practice this drop being contested through the first 6 or 7 games. Now, all of a sudden, 8th game, they lose it. 9th game, if they lose it again, there's going to be that seed of doubt in there. But right now, Razumi trying to get a little bit of doubt on this team, rotating away here, and a little bit of storm tags as they just remain utilizing their soft mats to get some positioning.
And Sapphics trio here is looking for a good start here in day 2. Haven't gotten any points at the moment, in 11th place. Sapphic has been one of our slayers here in the region, picking up 15-plus elims by himself. But speaking of opportunities, open the door here. It feels like, you know, at Anas, Thomas, Stacey, and Flick have slayed the beast, right? Now all the villagers are going to have a good time to try to claim that castle up there. And Nakos, Clement, and Flokies have an opportunity to storm that castle. They're sitting in 4th place at the moment. They're still about 30 points away, so that is a victory royale. They could definitely do it in one punch, but they could slowly jab their way up their leaderboard, Sundown.
I would say it's probably more equivalent to either scratching the dragon's nose and making him think for a second.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's where he breathes the fire at him, so he's got like a little. He's like, hey, that's a minor discomfort.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that. I'm gonna come back in a moment, but like, the villagers are celebrating. They're like, yay, we drove off the beast. Or it's like punching a great white shark in the face. It's like, yeah, you know what? You punched the great white shark in the face, but that shark is still in the water with you. Yeah, you showed that maybe you might be a little bit of a threat. Maybe you can punch back. But he's still there. They still exist. And while they're going to be forced out for just a little second, one, who takes advantage of that opportunity? And two, what happens when that angry shark, that angry dragon, the poked bear decides to come back in the next match? But right now, we're going to keep on board here with the teams who will have an opportunity to close the gap. Because realistically, going into the back 5 of these games, only really the teams in the top 4 or maybe the top 5 can statistically still kind of overtake this route, and it's going to take a large effort. As you see Clement going and doing every little thing right, making sure they maximize on the utility here, going all the way out and picking up that second big pot, and then going to rotate back up the zone.
You know, I know the Halloween party is over and all that spooky scariness, but I've always learned to double tap. You always got to double tap and make sure that monster is down. And that's what Flick, Thomas, and Nos, they're going to have to double tap that down if they're going to keep Mongrel's trio at bay. So, Mongrel trio is out. Now let's just focus in on who is in and who has the opportunity to go up the leaderboard. And if you're questioning anybody out there, like, why would Thomas and Nos and Flick do that? Because they're slipping down the leaderboard. They start off the day with 15th. They're going down to 17th. Having Stark, that strong POI in their back pocket now, could enable them to get up their leaderboard and secure themselves thousands of dollars. All of it is on the line.
And people are going to say, oh, why would they go and grief the top trio like that? And to my response to that, are you crazy? Are you crazy? They're competing to try to be the absolute top mark.
Yes.
And if this is a trio who is more than capable of winning games, especially when you see Thomas and Anas enabled with shockwaves. That's kind of what you really need to take away. They have to have a reliable way of getting the late game utility. That's how they've won their games. And if you can go start and guarantee that, yes, you have to fight one of the best teams in the entire game to get them. But if you want to win, you have to beat those guys anyway. And they finally said enough is enough. And if you're going to post your spot on Twitter, if you're going to talk about how you're so good at defending this spot, you better have a game plan and you better back it up. Because anybody has the opportunity to land anywhere. This is Fortnite Battle Royale. And if a team gives you a hard enough time, you need to game plan better and find a way to deal with it.
And that is what we call preach right then and there, Sundown. Now we're on board here with BDS, Robots. They got a victory royale here. They were able to have a very nice, aggressive book of fighting on the low ground, doing really well. And they got a victory royale. So one of the few teams that have a victory royale, because Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson have 3 victory royales. Yanis trio has 1 victory royale. Kenzel's trio has 1. And as well, Gamma's Cammy's trio has 1 as well. Cammy and Co. So those are the stories that are unfolding here. And the great thing is, you know, we can speculate all you want, but it is the competitors themselves that answers the questions. And that is what we're watching here as the drama unfolds, and the drama will are considering Kenzel, the back-to-back DreamHack champion, goes down. And Kenzel is just like just like Tayson for this trio. He kind of holds it all together, considering that in DreamHack it's a very placement-heavy format, and having that ability to kind of slow pace, passively, aggressively at times whenever you needed to get your way further into in-game, that's going to help out people like CRR Wolfies, who are known to be great opens box fighter players.
But right now, we're keeping on that Storm Surge threshold on the right-hand side, just above the map. We talked about that. There, coming from that World Cup runner-up there, the young controller player from England. Wolfie's finding a great tag and a sneaky little...
Holy! No. did you see that snipe? Dad, did you see that snipe? This kid is a world champion, and he contended, and he's a young controller player. Oh, so I'm running into Rena's dad, so be prepared for me. And this is with no practice at all playing this game. Hey Danny, do you want to watch me play Division League Arena game?